or how do you say it, Roger?
Depends on the day.
No, really. How do you say it?
Tarot.
Tarot. Okay.
Tarot.
Yeah.
Tarot.
Yeah. People get kind of funny about how you say tarot.
It's kind of like tomato,
now, I don't
tomato.
say tarot.
Tarot.
People really make fun of that. But it's tarot, Tarot.
Somebody's tried to tell me, well, it's like carrot. No, carrot has 2 R's.
No, it's not parrot. It's not carrot.
Carrot.
But I always have my way of saying it, and I always get really insecure about it because it's definitely not the way most people say it. It's the way you say it. I say
Tarot.
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 Anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight. And we decided to do it because a lot of topics come up around that when a lot of people come into our stores. We have 3 now at Soultopia, and they come in and they want readings. And most people associate readings with cards and tarot cards. And some people we're going to address some of the questions like, do you need to be afraid of the cards? What do cards have all the answers? A little bit of where the cards come from, how to use the cards. Now, we can't give a whole class, obviously, tonight, and we do have that class available online for you to get, and we're thinking about having another live class. I really love teaching tarot, and it's one of my favorite things besides crystals, I think, to teach. And so even in my book, The Magic of Connection, I have a whole chapter on using some of your tarot allies to help you and to think of the tarot as, especially, we're going to talk about in a second, the major arcana are the archetypes that we use. But is it one of your favorite, let's say, modalities to use, Roger?
It is, because I like tarot cards better than oracle cards because they, just what they do for you, which I know we're going to go over in a minute. But I like it a lot because I like to use the cards for giving, messages and things like that.
Okay, so let's start there. Well, let's do just a tiny bit of history about tarot, and this is very, very tiny. If you were to be given a quiz by somebody or open any book on tarot, and we should have some of the books in here. We have so many. Many of my good friends have written books on tarot.
We had some come in today.
And we got more books in today, and I can tell you my favorites. If you guys want to know, we can put a list of that. But I would say, like any books, crystal or anything else, it depends on the way you like to read, the way you like to look things up. Do you want to do exercises as you go through it? Do you want to look things up in the index? Do you want to go straight to, I want to learn card by card by card? But one of the books that I love is Benabel Wynn's book, who she wrote the foreword to my book, and it's Holistic Tarot. It is a big, thick book, but it is not a hard book in the sense of it has everything in there.
It's very detailed.
It's very detailed, but it's not. You look at it and you think, oh, that's a hard book. That's really big and thick, hard to read. But no, you can go straight to whatever you're wanting to look about. But as far as the history, there's a lot of different stories about that, but the best that can probably, in the sense of people even say was used way back in ancient times, like even in Egypt, there's people who have evidence that maybe they knew about it back then. But the most that probably, without going into great detail, and again, you can take the class to do that, was an Italian family, right? Back, it would use them for birthday parties, and they were on, if you think about it, when people even recently, before computers and things like that, and people even still now, they would do big paintings to do, tarot cards, we'll get into it, have 78 cards, what?
Oh, I was just thinking, no, go ahead.
They would do big paintings of each card, and they would actually run out of space.
Some people still do that today.
They still do that today. And
Mel Brown.
they'll run out of space of where to put all their paintings and what to do with them. But they would do them on tin, Tin.
Yep.
And that's what the cards would be on. And they would use them at birthday parties. It was a game.
That's right.
And there's even some debate, what came first, playing cards or the tarot cards. Some people will go, I know for sure it's one, and somebody else will say, I know for sure it's the other. And so we talk about that in the class too, to settle that debate, or we think we settled that debate. But the bottom line is tarot cards they've been around a long time, and then there was an edict handed down when tarot cards started being used more for, let's say, occult purposes to answer questions. And the Catholic Church, there was a Gregory, I think it was one of the Gregories, handed down an edict saying no more, because people were going to the cards for answers to their questions. All right?
Versus going to the church.
Yeah. Right. So they were very common and very, very much used, and very much used as games. And so not evil, not anything like that to them. And actually the original cards, and we're going to be mainly talking about Rider-Waite-Smith cards, that system, okay? The publisher, the author, and then the artist, Pamela Coleman Smith, of the Rider-Waite-Smith cards. That's what we teach with, not Toth and not Marseille. I'm not going to say we never will, never do, but those are what most cards are based on that we use, and most of the cards we get in our store, and all the symbolism. So back to the oracle cards. Oracle cards are, you can just take you could take this, SoulWhat, and you could look at this, and you could do a reading based on, this could be an oracle card. You could go, what do I see here? I see a quote bubble. I see color. I see this sort of font. I see a TM over here. I see it's in a black frame. And, what I see, it's sort of whatever you see. That could be an oracle card. You could go to a museum and you could look at paintings on the wall, and those could be oracle cards. It can be anything. And they don't have certain positions or numbers necessarily assigned to them, whereas tarot has certain things that you need to learn. They have always a certain number of cards, unless somebody has a little fun with them and adds a card or two here or there. But they typically have 78 cards. They have 22 what are called major arcana cards. Those are your major decision cards. And then they have 4 suits, just like playing cards, that add up the rest of your 78 cards. And those suits have different meanings, just like in playing cards. You have, and we'll go into those in a second. So they have set cards is one thing. So you want to learn your cards. And 2, now they have, even in the playing cards, since Pamela Coleman Smith, she added, instead of just seeing like 4 cups, which would be hearts in playing cards, she would draw now a picture of what those 4 cups would look like, a picture of that setting, as opposed to just, you see 4 cups on a card, which is kind of hard to read if you don't know that. Then you add in that there's also positions that if you do what's called a spread, and you can do those with oracle cards too, but if you add in a spread, then you read that card within the position within the spread, which can sometimes make it, as a beginner reader, a little more difficult. Because what if you got a really great card, let's say the Sun card, which means success and happiness. What if you got that in a really difficult position within your quote-unquote spread? So that's one thing that gets it a little more difficult, but you just have to practice and see how it goes from there. So I always recommend that we start off. So the difference between the oracle cards is oracle cards don't always have set meanings, and they differ from artist to artist to artist. I could decide I want to do a deck of oracle cards on crystals, which we are doing.
Right.
Roger might want to do one on Zoltar. We just got a second Zoltar, and it's at Carrollton now. So we have one here and one at Bishop Arts. So he might want to do a whole deck of oracle cards on Zoltar.
That could be fun.
That could be fun. You could also do a deck of tarot cards with a theme of Zoltar, but yet you would have them tie into the 22 major arcana cards and then the 4 suits. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's the big difference, because, and I believe with tarot cards, they have now, because they've been around so long, they have a universal consciousness to them. And what I mean by that is they've been around, and so people have, we kind of know that the Emperor card, most of us know that the emperor would mean leadership. It would mean certain things, and people know that archetype. So it has that feeling behind it, and they've been used so long and by so many people that it gets this certain energy behind the cards. And even if another author and artist come up with another deck, they're still using that same archetype and those same symbols.
Right. Yeah. So, guys, if you think about it like this, because most people may not be familiar with tarot cards, but are familiar more with playing cards, right? So, if you think about playing cards, there's 52 cards in the deck. So, within the tarot cards, we said there's 78. So, what's missing out of a regular set of playing cards would be the major arcana, right? And actually the pages out of each suit.
Right.
So everything else is there in the playing cards.
So, and then if you want us to go quickly, and we're going to talk about how you would use them, but just a real quick thing, they have it's just a really quick way to remember it. Within the suits, we said they had the major arcana. Those are major decisions. Okay, those are your major cards. They're going to usually have a Roman numeral assigned to them. And typically the first card's going to be 0. That's a little bit confusing for some people. Sometimes that first card will be 0. So there are 22 cards, but it's 0 to 21. Okay, so sometimes they'll switch that around. And that first card is the Fool, and they call that the Fool's Journey. And so that's usually a Roman numeral. Sometimes they'll make it easy for you, and they'll put that as if you don't know your Roman numeral, sometimes they'll put that as a regular number and make it easy for you. But and that's one thing that can cause you hiccups right at the beginning. You're going, okay, wait, I can't remember. Is that a 10 plus an X plus a 5 plus a 3? Is that 18? And it's just something you won't learn over time. And we give you tricks to learn what these cards are.
So like there's the Fool right there. So that's a Fool that she's talking about.
Yeah.
You see like it taken off with the satchel and just kind of like starting a journey.
And they call that the Fool's Journey. It's beginning of the journey, and that says the card is a 0. And then so those cards go all the way to 21, and that would be the World card, and that means that's the full, complete journey. And then you have the Cups as one of the suits. The Cups typically, kind of like hearts in playing cards, the Cups typically represent, and I'll give examples. When somebody comes, and if you want to know in your life about a relationship, whether it be a love relationship, you want to know about, am I going to date someone, or am I going to have a friend come in my life, or even about family relationships, the Cups would be cards that might come into play. They're about emotions, how you feel about things. They're those emotions and relationships, and those are the Cups.
So this is a great one to show. This is actually the 10 of Cups. These are huge cards. I can actually hold them out in front of the camera, but this is 10 of Cups. But, like Michelle's talking about, family, emotions, and things like that. And if you look at the bottom of this one, it shows a family there. They're hugged up together. The kids are playing and everything. So and you see a lot of that emotions right into the, right there.
Right. And sometimes we'll give you keywords. They're not necessarily the keywords that were given by the traditional keywords. There are traditional keywords for tarot cards, but I'll give you little tricks to remember the cards. And sometimes, and that doesn't mean you need to get stuck that's all it means, because it doesn't always mean that. Because family is different from one person to another. Family doesn't mean always that you're going to have children. Family may mean you have your animal companions, your children. Family may mean is different from person to person to person. And so what is a happy family to one person may be completely different to other people. So we don't want to get boxed into thinking it's one thing. But that card, that 10 of Cups, could mean your idea of a happy family. And I love the fact that it has the rainbow in it. And so, because it just can mean any combination of what we think is a happy family to us and is joyous and our emotions. And then I like to think of I kind of like to think of the swords. And I'll tell you why I go to that next is because the other two kind of go together. The swords sometimes can be a little bit of difficult cards because the swords are and I don't want to get too complicated, but they're the element of air. Cups would be water. They're the element of air. And if you think about air, that's usually your thoughts, your thoughts, your mental, what's going on mentally. And swords can involve intellect, conversations, communication, but also conflicts. So when we're dealing with the swords, that suit of swords, sometimes these can be a little bit more difficult cards. Now, can that tie into relationships? Absolutely. Can that tie into work? Absolutely. Can that tie into health? The three main things we talk about in readings? Absolutely. So the swords would be about those things. And sometimes they are going to be cards of trouble, of conflict, of things we're working through. And how do we work through that with our communication? Sometimes we don't always do the best job of it, right? And then, were you looking for, and my favorite card, by the way, is the Two of Swords. So even though it's a sword card, so I'm not picking on swords. That and Justice are my favorite cards for some reason, and you'll find out which are your favorite cards for whatever reason. And then we have two cards that kind of seem, or two suits that kind of seem the same. There's the Wands, which are fire, and I think of sacral chakra. I think of like what sets you on fire. What really gets you going? What's your passion? So wands can be projects, they can be ideas, they can be things that really projects, ideas, things that really are going to motivate you to get you going. Success, the Six of Wands. I'm this card in Jamie Sears' deck, The Pocket Appears, and it's a card of success, but it's how do you handle that? Can you handle that? Do you share your success with others? Do you give credit where credit is due? Do you know how to thank others for what they've done for you? Okay, so the wands are really, do you have anything to add on wands? Just really about passion and...
It's about your emotion. It's a little bit of emotions too, but it's also how you work together. Another really good one is actually the Five of Wands, where it looks like five people fighting with the wands, with the, sticks, basically, right? But it's really not that. They're trying to communicate, and it's actually the lack of their communication.
Right.
So, if you think about the wands, it is about there's a little bit of emotion underlie to it, but it also is kind of how you work with other people, too.
Right. And I do find the fives to be difficult cards, to be honest with you. They don't mean they're bad cards. They're just, they tend to show how are we going to work through some conflicts in each of those suits. In the four suits. Yeah. And then we have, and the reason I did wands and then I say pentacles, and I talk about those two together, because wands can also, when we're talking about projects, that can kind of go over in passion. It can kind of go over into what we're thinking about work. Do we want to work our passion, or do we want to just work to make money? What do we want to do? So the pentacles are about money. They're about mundane, which mundane just means worldly. It doesn't mean boring. It means mundane, earthly things. It can also mean health. Those are the pentacles. So sometimes those will bleed over a little bit into the wands if we're wanting to combine our projects and our ideas and our inspiration with our work. Those can bleed together. But sometimes they can be completely separate. If we're working a job and it's just a job, but yet we have a passion over here that we really want to be doing. And sometimes that's interesting to look at, how our passions and our pentacles, so our wands and our pentacles, are they coming together or are they not coming together? So those suits cover the main areas in life that we have questions about. And they can also have to do with our life purpose. So one of the big questions we get is, can you learn to do tarot and learn these cards and use them for yourself? And the answer is absolutely. A lot of people will think, well, you'll use your own bias to get the answer you want. But if you really learn the cards, and you really can just be honest with yourself, you could do the same thing I could also do the same thing. If I really like a client and I really want to tell them, if I really want to tell Roger what he wants to hear, then I wouldn't be that good of a reader. So I want to just take what I'm thinking out of it and really just read the cards. And and that also raises a really, really important question, and it's a debate actually around a lot of people in the tarot community. There are scholars in the tarot community. Is do you have to have psychic ability or intuitive knowingness to read tarot cards? And the answer is no, you do not. You can learn to read these cards because of all the times they have been used, and they are accurate. If you will really, really, really study cards, I believe there are some readers that are better, and I really do believe this, that are better readers than people who claim to be highly intuitive and really get almost, I want to say this right because I don't want to judge anybody, but maybe somebody who thinks they're so intuitive and highly, it's them, and really when this card system seems to really bring about some answers. So you have therapists, you have one of the first people we met, we've said a lot of times on the show, she was a pediatrician or maybe a children's therapist from Venezuela.
She was a children's doctor
from Venezuela.
Yeah.
And so and that was very common for them. This was years ago, when Venezuela was doing much better, sadly. She said she was always studying tarot, and that's the other thing. You really never arrive at learning this. That's what I love about the tarot community is people are always learning more. There's always more to learn.
Yeah, because there's one thing about the card of how the card itself is, but then when you mix it with another card or 2 or 3 cards together, you get an entirely different meaning.
And then when you look at it a different way and you start learning the symbolism, and that's why I think a lot of people get overwhelmed and they think, I don't want to do it, or I just want to use my intuition. And I say both. Use both. If you do we all have intuition. If you do want to use your intuition and you do want to say, this is the first thing I see on the card, that's great. But I also think it's great for you to know what a card means and the education behind it and the history behind the cards. Because otherwise, I really think you're selling yourself. If you're reading for yourself, or if you're reading for your friends or reading for clients, you're selling them short, because there has been so much studying and education, and these aren't just fly-by-night people who just like, oh, I'm just going to say something I think about, and that may be great too, but these are people who really studied this craft, and they really know a lot about this craft. So I think education is very important. Experience in reading the cards is very important. So the more practice you get, the more you practice with the cards, the more important, the better you'll feel about reading absolutely for yourself and getting answers for yourself. Yeah. And, anything, I think when we go to asking something for ourselves, can we try to get it to come out the way we want it to? Well, sure we can. But if we really can try to detach and say, okay, I'm going to really try. Some people are better at doing that than others, clearly. I can detach from this and I can say, I've done this. But usually what I'll do is this. I'll set my intention and say, I'm not going to pull 3 cards and pull them over and over and over, and I'm not going to do this. Okay, let's keep trying. And I do this with clients too. I'm not going to keep saying, let's pull another card and see if it gets better. Because if something comes out the way I don't want it, all that means is, it doesn't mean that it's set in stone that way. It just means this is the way it is right now, and we may need to do something to course correct to this to make it be a different answer, because we have free will. So if we were looking at 3 jobs that we were trying to choose between, and we weren't sure, I really like this job, but I'm thinking about, I also have this one, but I don't really like it as much. And then I will add another one. Is there something better? And I get the something better is the best card. Then I would say, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go interview with the other jobs. That means there might be something better out there. So leave your options open. And so we don't ever want to cut somebody off with a reading, or you don't want to cut yourself off with a reading, or close doors you don't need to close. Why would you do that? But you want to just look at it objectively and don't keep throwing cards to make it better. read what they read. And another thing I see people do that I cringe at is they'll say, "Oh, that card must have meant it was for another card." And we talk about this when we do our 1, 2, 3 readings. Don't go, "Oh yeah, that third one really must have been for me, but I chose number 1." No, stick with what you set your intention when you're doing your reading.
No cheating, y'all.
Yeah. So that's one of the big things with tarot, and that's why I really, really like it. As far as being afraid of it, Roger and I come from very different backgrounds on stuff like that. So I really do understand people and the fear that they may have or the shame they might get put on them if they use the cards. But Roger, how do you feel about it?
You know, so a lot of people do is they'll come from a place of where it's maybe from family members, kind of put the shame in them, or maybe a religious practice kind of put the shame into it. And the thing is that, at the end of this is your path, your journey that you're going down. And they're really, I think, just cards. I mean, they're, informational cards. It's not like opening a portal and the demons are coming out or anything crazy. I've never seen that. So, and I've been doing this for a long time. Never seen a portal open up with a bunch of demons coming out chasing me because of my tarot cards. Right. So, but I think what you could do is, just kind of put that to the side and see what actually resonates with you. And the reason I say that is because y'all know, because of before the stores, even up until last year, I had a job where I went into people's homes. And I went into a lot of homes where they had cards, oracle cards, which still people classify, with tarot cards, but they were very religious and they used those cards from a religious standpoint, especially like a lot of the angel cards or the fairy cards and things like that. But, and that's one of the things when we talk about it, there are differences between oracle and tarot cards, but oracle cards, a lot of times you'll see a lot of angels, you'll see a lot of positives and things like that. And I'd see a lot of people using them, even from a very religious background, using the oracle cards.
Right.
And they love them. They
Right.
did it every single day, pulled card every day for a positive affirmation.
Right. So I would come from a background where I would be told none of that would be acceptable. And you couldn't, and even if you have an angel card, that's an angel masquerading as something negative. And so I'm just shooting straight with you guys.
Isn't it? I mean,
and I'm just shooting straight.
Yeah.
That's what they believe, and that's what they would be told. And I'm not ever going to argue with them. And I would say that's their belief system, so that's fine. Mm-hmm. Step away from that and maybe look at something else. Maybe we can look at essential oils. Maybe you could do chakras. A lot of people, crystals are in the Bible. Maybe we can agree on something else. So we're not ever going to push. I'm not ever going to try and argue or push my beliefs on somebody else. I will just say that, but I'll have a conversation with somebody, because I was raised where that was very, very, very much. It didn't even matter if it was an angel card. And a lot of people from that weren't raised that way don't understand that it does not even matter if it was couched as an angel card. It would not make a difference to them. So I'm saying to you that are from that, and I know because you come to me, that have that same feeling and like, oh no, am I betraying my faith? I want you to know that you can always come talk to me, and many of you have, and I want you to know that you don't have to trade one faith to broaden your faith, and you can always come talk to me about it. And I actually just talked to somebody, I think it was yesterday, on Facebook, and they were like, thank you so much for sharing this with me. You don't have to give up one thing for another. And so it's always good just to have an open discussion about it. But know that for people who don't understand, that there are people who come from that belief that are very much believe that these are of the devil. That is what they believe. And there's no way to talk them out of it. And I don't make fun of them, and I won't make fun of you. If that's the way you were raised, I will help you and I will talk to you, because I was raised that way too. I will say this, I don't believe we're opening any kind of portals, and here's why I don't. I think we're all portals. I think everything is energy, and that's what everything I'm going to start talking about now is going to be about that. It's what's in my book, and I go through it really step by step by step. Every single thing is energy. It's just in a different form. And it's just how we choose to vibrate at that energy. And so these are energy too. And it's really not even negative or positive. It's just the vibration of that energy. That's physics. Okay, that's and I'm not any kind of, we're having an astrophysicist on, and I think in a couple weeks, maybe next week, and so from Stanford, so he'll be able to help us. But it's physics, and but please know we will never make fun of anybody's religion, and we will be happy to talk to you about that, because we know there's a lot of people who have trouble with these cards, and I will tell you that I have so many of them now, I just can't even imagine why anybody made such a big deal of it. And what's so interesting about it to me, without making fun of it at all, is most of these cards were founded. If you look at the cards, they are religious figures in the cards. That card that I told you that was the card I am in, Jamie, here it is, the Six of Wands. If we can show that one. And this is the card I depict, or I model in Jamie Sawyer's Pocket of Peers. This originally was Jesus going in, I believe it's on help me out here, I used to know my Bible so well, Palm Sunday, no, Good Friday. Good Friday, where they're waving all the palms at him, and he's riding in on the donkey, right? And the Hierophant card, that's the Pope. And nobody's poking fun at them. Those are the figures they're using in these cards. Okay, so we'll get off that subject. Anything else to say about it?
Of that?
Yeah. Because I kind of shut you down. In Soultopia, you will never have anybody make fun of of that belief system, because for those of you who are in other countries and don't understand, or other parts of the state, the states, I was raised very, very, very in a very religious church, and maybe that's why so many are drawn to me that are like, I'm not sure if I can do this and then still go to church and be in my choir, and I want to be. And yes, you can. Okay, you can. So you don't have to say I don't believe in this anymore in order to do some of the things we're doing. And I think more people are opening their minds to that. And for a while, I felt like that. I felt like I had to choose one over the other, and you don't. Okay? All right, so that was a little divergence but I think it's very important for people, because they think it's the devil's plaything, and it's not. If you want to invite scary negativity, bad into your life, there are a lot of other ways that can happen a lot more easily in your life. I would start looking at those things and cleaning up those areas of our life more than just cards. Okay. What else?
Somebody asked about, they're just new, just kind of getting into it, and she wants to start practicing readings with friends.
Right.
And wants to know what's a good spread to start with.
Okay. So most people would tell you that the best spread to start with would be like 3 cards, past, present, future. I would say don't do that. Okay. Because I don't really like this past. I would say probably I would change that. And let me digress a little bit. And you can ask yes/no questions. A lot of people will tell you you can't do that. Yes, you absolutely can. But you might want to frame it as this. If you want to stick to the traditional that you can't do that, you might want to frame it as, what will happen if this? Okay, what is it going to look like if I do this? So I'm going to show you my spread for just starting. Okay, we did this in my Intuitive Insights class the other night. For people who were like, I don't know how to really get answers on things. Let's just say we had a question. Give me a simple question. What will it look like if I sell my house? Okay.
Good.
So I think we've done that one on here before, but what will it look like if I sell my house? So I'm going to say they're in their house. Okay. So what if I sell my house? Simple spread here. Sell. Don't sell. other option. So instead of past, present, future, you're actually getting some real live answers. Now, you've got to set your intention. You've got to remember which means which. Sell, don't sell, other option. Then you've got to decide, now what does this mean? When I turn this card over, if I get a good card on sell, does that mean I sell? Probably.
Yep.
If you get a really negative card, so what do? We turn it over. This means sell, hypothetically here, and you get the Hierophant card. Now, the Hierophant card is the one I was talking about. That's the Pope, right? This one can sometimes mean corporations, institutions, the traditional way. It's kind of like that tradition from that
A lot of rules.
Federal law. What was it? Federal law on the roof. Yeah, a lot of it can be rules. In a negative sense, it could be conditioned beliefs, the way we're trained to do things, social mores that maybe don't fit with us anymore. But so selling means, you might want to make sure you have a real estate agent. You're not putting it on on the market on your own. This would look okay. It's not necessarily a bad card if you go by the rules. Okay, selling the house. What if I stay? I'm going to hold for now. Okay, and I think we did this before. That looks like later there could be more money. This is the Nine of Pentacles. This is a money card. This is independence. Maybe wait a while and then fix a few things up and then put it on the market yourself and you might make more money.
Yep.
What if there's another idea like leasing it or something else? Happy family card. It looks like, so all these are pretty good options and it looks like you can't go wrong. You really need to take your family into account. Is there maybe another neighborhood that's better for your family if you don't have a family? Or is there a better place for where your animals would be? What if you're thinking, I'm going to live in a little bitty spot, but there's no place for my animals, but I'd save money. So it's all that, taking that into account. That's how I read instead of past, present, future. But the best one most people would say to begin with, which I don't agree with, would be past. What was happening in the past with that situation, what's going on right now, and what's going on with the future. And the reason why I don't like it is most people just automatically, especially when they're new, they're going to go straight to that future card. They want the outcome card. And they don't really understand why the past and the present would affect what's going on. And it's more just trying to see, can I figure out and give good readings on this? They just want to look right at that outcome card.
Makes sense.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's kind of like also when you're trying to make a decision between, two things also, where a lot of times we'll do like a couple of cards out to see how that path would look.
Right.
If you go, so like if you stayed in your current job, how does that look? Or if you went out looking for another job, how does that look?
Right. So
you can do the same thing.
I flow chart it out, just like you would flow chart out any decision. And like, let's say you wanted to figure out more. Okay, well, it looks like, there is something about the family, my family dynamic over here, whatever it is. Maybe I want to be closer to, we had a grandchild. So maybe I want to be closer to the grandchild. So you think about that. So you flow chart that down. That to me is a really, really, really easy reading for someone just starting. Another way you could do that is you could pull out all of your minor cards and just start with your major cards. If you didn't want to get overwhelmed and you just wanted to start learning your major cards first, you could just start with 22 cards and just use those cards because those would give you enough to work with. And then you could start layering as you learn more to start layering in those other cards.
So let's say they don't have an actual question.
Okay, so if you don't have an actual question, and are we still going with
the
let's
say they don't
way?
have the simplest way to give somebody a reading.
Okay.
If they're querent, doesn't have an actual
So querent means the sitter, the person you're reading for. That's a fancy word for it. Is the querent, is the sitter, the person that's getting the reading, and you're the reader. And so if they didn't have an actual question, which happens a lot, do you have a question? No. Okay, so let's see what's going on with you right now. What does querent A need to know for right now? What do they need to know? Why are they here today? And a lot of times what I'll do is I want to know what's going on with their energy first. Because I want to know, well, then why are they here? Is it just because, their spouse made them come in? And like they're going, oh, great, I don't believe in any of this, which is fine. Or they find it interesting, or, they really don't know and they don't know how to put it into words, but they really do need to know something. So I will turn over one card and it doesn't really matter which way you turn it, but one card's sort of horizontal and one card vertical. And to me, this represents the energy, and this is the beginning of what we call a Celtic cross. I make up my own spreads. If y'all go on all of our pages, you can find, and Instagram and everywhere, you can find the spreads I make up. But usually I don't use spreads. I just make up I just start throwing cards. But for beginning, I understand why you would want them. So the bottom card is going to be kind of the energy they're bringing into the room. So the person, let's say hypothetically, they don't have a question, but it looks like they're kind of focusing on the past. I got the 5 of Cups, and you can kind of see this. Mm-hmm. There are 3 cups on the ground, and he, she is focusing on those. But there's 2 over here that are standing up. And so they're focusing, and that 5, remember I said 5s are kind of not always great cards, or they're cards of kind of cards. I don't want you to think they're bad, but why is this person focusing on loss as opposed to focusing on maybe what could be an opportunity for them? And then I have crossing it another Cups card. And what are Cups? Cups are about emotions and love and about relationships. It could be a relationship with themselves, how they feel about themselves. It could be with somebody else. We don't know for sure. But I call this little guy, look at him. This is the 9 of Cups, and it's called the Wish card. It's a very good card, typically. And we're being real basic here, but it is. I'm about to golf. Excuse me. It's crossing it. So this means, to me, this person has the ability to really see the good in things, but for some reason they're feeling down about something. So I'm gonna say to this querent, I'm gonna say, okay, why do you seem to be focusing on? Are you a little down? Why are you focused on emotionally some things that are going on that are not making you so happy, even though there's some good things coming into your life? Why are you looking backwards, right? And then I might just put, and not even going into a fancy Celtic cross, then I might just say, that might right there bring up something. And they might say to me, and it's not fishing. It is okay to ask that question because that's the energy they're bringing into the room. Yep. Right? So right there, you can give a whole reading on that. You could say, okay, if they're just sitting like this, they don't want to tell you, that's okay. Then you could say, all right, well, based on that, I'm going to see what I want to tell you. And I could pull just 3 cards. And I wouldn't even do past, present, future. I'm just going to tell a story with it. And I'm going to say, and I got a 5, the one Roger talked about earlier. See this 5 of Wands? See how they're trying to put something together? This can be a card of teamwork, but it's a card of, it's not quite coming together. Okay, so it's teamwork, but boy, they just can't quite get it together. So we have 2 5s. So we have some conflict going on. This person's conflicted. This person's conflicted in relationships, or maybe something that's not quite coming together in their life like they want it to come together. But yet, so I'd say some things just aren't coming together like you want them to come together. You're not quite content, but you have the ability to make it happen. You just aren't believing that you do. And so you need to get your drive back, your motivation. This is the Chariot card. This is about drive. It actually can mean real travel, but it's one of the travel cards, but it also is about drive and motivation. And remember, I mentioned motivation before, like not being motivated to go with that too. And then I might just look at this next one, and it's like, you're going to need to try, or I would propose to you, invite you to try to put aside that conflict that's going on and take your inner drive and your motivation, set aside the people who are letting you down, and go with those 2 cups that are standing, set aside what's letting you down, and focus more on what you have planted in your life. This is a 7 of Pentacles, and this is about waiting for the harvest. This is about waiting. You have done the work. You have put in the work where you are. You are deserving, and now it's time to just wait for it to make it happen. But you've got to give it a little push. See, so I did a whole reading here just with making up, but I always would get their energy first if they're not going to tell me a question. Does that make sense?
Makes sense there.
Okay. And I just did 3 cards just so I could tell a little story. And it's not really past, present, future. You don't have to do it that way. You could do one card if you didn't have very much time. You could just do one card and say, wow, I got another 5. And it looks like things aren't coming together with you. And I'd still get the same reading because I've got the 9 of Cups on top of it saying, but you have it in you to do what you want to do, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's cool.
So there's books of spreads, and you can go through them. And, you know, if you connect with zodiacs, you could do all the houses. That would take a while. Or you could say, oh, you're having trouble in one area, so you could go to that certain house. You could add in astrology with that. You could do it any way you want. But I keep it really simple. Like I go with the way the reading is going. Like, okay, so then we see, yeah, and actually the reason my motivation is down and the reason I'm not believing in myself is I just have this one person that seems to, you know, this situation just keeps coming up. And so then, you know what? We'd flow chart it down into reading about that. Okay, what are we going to do about that? What does that look like? And then we would go from there.
Plus some of those real elaborate spreads. I mean, if you think about it, some of those are kind of designed a little bit for timing, you know, because if you try to put out a very elaborate spread, you're probably eating in some of the timing that you actually should be doing readings with somebody.
Well, and the elaborate spreads they're always good but sometimes it's harder to, you know, if that spread says, so, you know, this is what crowns you on one of the Celtic cross, and I don't teach the Celtic cross, and you'll have to take the class or come to some of the practice classes with us to learn. But the card that you put above those 2 crossed ones in the middle is above it. And usually for me, I put that as this is the best possible. This is the nothing can go wrong in your life. This is our happy card. Even if it's a negative card, if it's the worst card in the deck, which some might see as like the Tower card, something bad's coming your way. And that is usually something bad's coming to your way so it can get you to your bottom point so that you can rise to your heights of glory is the way I see it. Yeah. So that's why it is a good card, but it's going to hurt a little bit in the process. You know, that card can come up a lot during, you know, loss, during a divorce. But a lot of times it's something that you don't know that you're going to see later. You look back on it and you see that actually was a card that was a good card when you were at the lowest of your low. Yeah. It's hard to hear that when you're going through it though. So don't be flippant with people and go, oh, and the death card's great. Oh, and the Tower card's great. It's my favorite card. I hear a lot of people say that. If it's your favorite card, great, but it doesn't feel great to somebody who's going through it at the time. Okay.
So, all right. So we were talking about it. If you had, we're gonna put it through the test here, Matt.
Okay.
Okay.
I like it.
You'll like this.
Do it.
You'll like this. So if you pulled one card.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we're gonna test her, guys. One card. Here it is. What are you gonna tell somebody?
What is it? The Ace of Pentacles?
Ace of Pentacles.
Okay, so I would say that with no question, right?
No question.
Okay, so with the Ace of Pentacles, I would say it looks like there's going to be a new beginning in your life regarding something with money or with your work. And it's coming into, and aces are always good. And the thing about it is, don't be afraid when I say new beginnings, because some people go, oh, no, I love my work. Please, please, please. And I love my money, and my money's really good, and please don't mess with it. No, it's always going to be good. So look for it, and don't let it pass you by, because here it is. It's coming at you. It's like, whoa, but don't let it pass you by, because aces of pentacles, all the aces are good cards. They're new beginnings, and they're bringing something really powerful, almost like from the hand of God or source, straight into your life.
Pretty cool, pretty good. So then we said, what about if 2 cards were playing? So now we got these 2 cards.
Okay.
Ace of Pentacles with a Lover's card.
Okay, so let me preface this with, a lot of people read the Lover's card as straight up lovers, and a lot of very, very scholarly readers do that. I don't. It depends on the cards around it. And I read the cards because the Lover's card traditionally is the Garden of Eden, and it's where Eve tempted. I hate it that it was Eve that was the temptress,
of course
but
it was. Of course.
Oh, stop, Roger! You can get yourself in trouble. It's not. He said that.
Michelle told me that story.
So anyway, so it was all about this tempting, and this being tempted and having choices. So to me, the Lover's card is a very much a card of, it can be love, but it's a kind of a seducing kind of love, and you're having to make a choice. Okay, so I have two choices. I have a Pentacles, and this is about, again, mundane matters, earthly matters. So there's a new beginning. Remember, I said that Pentacles can have to do with health, but I think that this is something that is potentially, there's a new beginning with work. The Lover's coming with it. I'd have to have the person sitting in front of me, but I'm going to tell you that I don't think this is a new relationship necessarily. I think this is going to be a choice between love of money and love of work.
See, big difference. All right, let's do one more because I got a good one for you.
Okay.
I'm going to make her stretch on this one. Because you already talked about the Sun card being the best card in the deck.
He's trying to make it really hard, yeah.
With the Tower card.
Okay, that's perfect. So this is when the Tower card is that card I told you that can be difficult. It's one of the major arcana cards that we call the DDT cards. Like, you know, not so great, right? And so the Tower card is when something unexpected happens. So if you already know what it is, then it's usually not the Tower card. That's what's scary about the Tower card. It's like, oh, what's going to come? Okay, but this gives us a little forewarning, right? And so the Tower card's here, but this is telling us victory is going to follow. So it's exactly what I said earlier. You're going to go through something rough, but it's going to be to clear out something that you probably know you don't need in your life. But victory and sun, the Sun card means success, and that's not just worldly success. That is success of every kind is going to come after. So the sun follows the darkness. So that's actually hopeful. I would love to get the Sun card after. That would be harder. Okay, so you're riding high. You're on a really, really good, having a lot of success in life, and I would say this would be tougher because I would say, what's going on in your life that you need to course correct, that something may pop up, and you don't want to scare your querent, but usually the Tower card means something's going to hit you. Be prepared, not scared. Prepared, not scared. There's a big difference. That, life happens, right? Stuff happens. It's life. That we don't want to get knocked off of but success comes in different forms, but this is more difficult. And I could not lie to the querent here. I could say there's going to be something coming and I don't want you to sit it. And here's how I handle that. I don't want to scare the querent. But if they know their cards, I'm going to go, oh, there's a Tower. On that one, I would draw a third card because I'm not going to leave a querent in fear. That is not ever the way I read my cards. I'm not going to have somebody leaving my office or leaving a Skype or FaceTime or whatever Zoom with me in fear. But I am always going to be honest. But I'm always going to give some hope because there's always hope.
Makes
How'd
sense. I do? You did okay.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll keep her around for a little while longer.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of getting to know your cards and knowing that they can mean different things. And that was sticking with pretty much on every single one of them, the traditional meanings. I will go back to that Lover's card and say that many times people will consider the Lover's card to be love. And the Two of Cups, which is, they will consider that to be partners, like a partnership, and so do I, and not straight up love. For me, I see love to be a combination of cards, or a feeling I get from the cards. It's not the Lover's card. Many times I can sit down, and if I see the Lover's card and a couple of other cards with it, especially the Devil, which you guys does not mean the devil. It means being, again, tempted. a temptation, something that is your, whether it's like you want to shop too much, or it sometimes can be addictions, things like that. And if I see some certain cards together, that's when I can look. If I remember a time I had 15 minutes with somebody to read, and she wanted a reading, and boy, she wanted it. And I knew the minute she sat down, this was a little intuition, but I've read a lot, and there's no judgment in it because I hear everything. Plus, I'm a lawyer, so I've heard everything, right? You pretty much can't shock me, especially having been a criminal defense lawyer and a prosecutor. I've heard a lot. So she sat down, and I said, right away, go ahead and let's just start talking about the affair. And this is a long time ago. I don't even know her name, and I wouldn't ever divulge. And so, just to let y'all know, I'm not giving away secrets here. And she's like, no, there's no affair. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, just reminder, we have 14 minutes left. So at 1 minute, when you decide to bring up the affair, I've got somebody after you. And she said, there's not an affair. I said, okay. And so what happened? Because of those cards I saw, what do you think happened with 1 minute left? What came up? The affair. And so it's just because you can set your intention to know that certain cards mean certain things. And when you see them, I know when there's a DWI, that's what it's called in Texas. I know when there's a DWI, I can pretty much know if I see these 3 cards together, that's a DWI. It may not be the same for you, but if you take my class and you set that intention, or our class and set that intention, usually that's the way it will be. And it's pretty much fail-proof for me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make me so great. It's really the cards and just setting that intention, and knowing, and just a lot of practice and a lot of experience. And that didn't make, by the way, that person any less. She was like, oh man, I really wish I told you at the beginning. I was like, I really do too, because we would have more time. And I think she signed up and came back later, and we talked about it. So, and then came in for a regular reading. But yeah, that's how you do it.
So guys, just so y'all know, we have a class that's a series of 5 classes. Now, class 1 through 4 is actually we start with the major arcana. These are all recorded, by the way. Okay, so it's major arcana, and then each 2, 3, and 4, 2 and 3 are 2 suits together, and the 4th class is kind of all of them together, working through it. Each one of those classes online is $20 each. And then we have a 5th class that falls into that kind of advances that a little bit. Plus you do like a kind of a live reading with one of us, Ashley or somebody here, or Carlton, or one of us here at the store. You'll do like a live reading with, showing the cards, kind of showing us that you know what you're doing. And that class is actually $25, but you get a certification that you've completed it, with that, if you do all 5 classes.
To be real clear, you're getting a certification saying it's a certification of completion.
Yes.
That's what we give here. We're not certifying that you're the world's best reader or anything like that.
That comes with practice.
Yeah,
practice,
that's up to
practice.
And you do get like a little certificate. And there is a test too. There's a written test.
And it's tough because Michelle made it up.
No, it's not hard.
Matt, you would not pass.
No, he would. He would totally pass.
Matt'd be like, oh, fuck this shit. I'm out.
Yeah, no kidding.
Matt'd be like, nah, I'm out.
I haven't taken a test in a long time. So.
He would totally pass.
I failed it, Matt.
No, it's not true, you guys. It's not. It's open book anyway. So I think
it actually is. It's open book. You get to use your notes.
Well, what I say is take it not
is.
open book first, and then go through and find the answers.
And the good thing is when you do it with the videos, you get to go at your own pace.
Right. But we're really thinking about going. I love teaching. Tarot, I love this topic. In case you guys can't tell, we can go on forever and ever. Talking about it so fast. I love talking about the combinations. And sometimes when we talk about it, we skip the basics, the questions that some of you, we have from the very beginning. Why, and we don't do that when we first started, but we are going to get the more advanced classes recorded. And just so y'all know, when you get the recording, that was before we had people like Matt and people to tell us how to do things better. So it's like, I looked at it the other day and I was like, oh my, it scared me to death. I was like, I'm like in the camera, like right up in it going, hey. It's like, not that I'm that much better now, but it kind of scared me a little
Oh.
bit.
But we've had several people asking about it. And actually, the other question I get a lot is, when are y'all having another live class for it?
Well, and that's what I think we're going to get that down on the books really, really soon, and because we do really enjoy that, and that gives us a good chance to practice. And like I said, we're also going to record the more advanced classes too. There's we just love teaching it, and we know that people learn in different ways. So we are starting to we have intuitive insights on Thursday nights, and we're making that a lot more teaching. And less teaching, more practicing.
More
and then we have
hands-on.
another Saturday for practicing. I'm not sure what that is yet, so I'm not sure the difference between that and intuitive insights. So I'm going to have to get that clarified, what that is. I think that's already been advertised. Not sure how that's going to work, but we will get that clarified. And then we have a teen class that's starting, and we also have mediumship classes. So everything's starting back up again, but yet you can still do a lot of the stuff online. We have chakra classes online, all kinds of stuff that you can take online, and that's a certification too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good stuff. So hopefully we covered a little bit about to get you to know that. I even have some people who read for me that are like, I cannot learn tarot. And I'm going to tell you, if that has happened and you've taken my class, come to me and I will work with you, because yes, you can. I promise you, you can. Okay? And don't just punt and only do intuitive. Please learn the history, learn something about tarot, learn the educated part of tarot, and then tie in your intuition, your, let's call it ESP, the 5 E's, the education, the experience, the ESP, let's call it, because I can't think of the other E, and put all those together to have excellence. Because I don't think it has to be a war. Should it be intuition? Should it be education? I think we need both. At least here at Soultopia, that's what I want, and I hope that that's what you get from your readers. I know really what you want is you want the answers, but because of the great tradition of tarot and that universal consciousness that I talk about, I'm going to tell you, I know readers that do not claim to be psychic at all, and I have gotten better readings from them than from some people who claim to be psychic, just so you know. Okay, that's because it is such a good system for getting readings. Okay, so that's what we have tonight. And we look forward to seeing you guys, seeing you here at Carrollton, seeing you at Frisco, Bishop Arts, Zoltar. This is my Zoltar shirt that Roger got me. And so seeing you, and I'm about to go meet the new Zoltar too here.
Yep.
I haven't had time to see him. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Matt, for producing, as always. And thanks all of you for joining us and listening on our journey to discern what matters to our soul, and for you to join us and discern and decide what matters to yours. Good night.
Good night, guys.